The massive space station hung in the void like a glittering jewel. Ships from across the galaxy surrounded it, each one bigger and more impressive than the last. The Zephyrian vessels looked like living creatures with their biometal hulls that pulsed with strange lights. The Korthak ships were dark pyramids that seemed to bend space around them. The Vardani brought floating crystals that hummed with power. Then came humanity's fleet. 12 ships. Just 12. They were sleek and silver, no bigger than most species' escort vessels. Compared to the massive dreadnoughts around them, they looked like toys. The other delegates watched them arrive with barely hidden amusement. "Is that it?" asked General Takmor, his 6 arms gesturing dismissively at the human ships. The Korthak's voice rumbled through his translator. "We expected more from the species that claims to rule an entire star system." Ambassador Sarah Chen stepped out of the shuttle and onto the station's docking bay. She was a small woman by human standards, but she walked with confidence. Behind her came Admiral Marcus Rivera, a tall man with graying hair and sharp eyes that seemed to take in everything. The welcoming committee was already laughing. "Greetings." "Humans," said High Counselor Vexani, her blue skin shimmering as she spoke. The Zephyrian's voice was musical, but there was mockery in it. "We are honored to witness your grand arrival." Sarah smiled politely. "Thank you for having us. We're eager to contribute to galactic peace." "Contribute?" General Thakmor's mandibles clicked in what passed for Korthak laughter. "With those tiny ships? My personal guard vessel has more firepower." Admiral Rivera said nothing. He simply observed, his face showing no emotion as the aliens continued their jokes. The Grand Assembly Hall was enormous. Representatives from over 200 species filled the floating platforms that surrounded the central speaking area. Each delegation tried to outdo the others with displays of wealth and power. The Zephyrians had brought bioconstructs that shifted and danced around them. The Korthaks displayed weapons that crackled with dark energy. The Vardani's crystals sang in harmony, filling the air with beautiful music. Humanity had brought charts and data tablets. "The Galactic Council recognizes the delegation from Earth," announced the Supreme Arbiter, a being so old that no one remembered its original species. "Please present your credentials." Sarah walked to the center platform. Around her, hundreds of alien eyes watched with varying degrees of interest and amusement. The massive viewing screen showed her small figure surrounded by the overwhelming presence of the galaxy's greatest powers. "Honored counselors," she began, "humanity comes before you seeking membership in this great alliance. We offer our ships, our technology, and our commitment to defending the peace you have built." "Your ships?" High Counselor Vexani's laugh was like wind chimes. "We saw them arrive. All 12 of them. Some of our mining corporations have larger fleets." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. Sarah continued as if she hadn't heard the insult. "We understand that membership comes with responsibilities. We are prepared to take on whatever duties the Council assigns." Supreme Military Commander Zorth of the Vardani floated forward. His crystalline body rang like a bell as he spoke. "Let us be clear, humans. This Council has seen countless species come and go. Your technology appears primitive. Your fleet is laughably small. Your planet has only recently achieved faster-than-light travel. We have observed your species for some time," added General Takmor. "You fight among yourselves constantly. You destroy your own environment. You show little understanding of galactic politics or warfare. Why should we trust you with the safety of our worlds?" Admiral Rivera finally spoke, his voice calm and steady. "Because we keep our promises." The simplicity of his answer caught the assembly off guard. Several delegates began talking at once. "Promises?" scoffed Vexani. "The Zephyrian Empire has kept peace for 1,000 years through strength, not promises. The Korthak hegemony controls 17 star systems," Thakmor added. "We maintain order through power, not words." Sarah stepped forward again. "We don't claim to be the strongest or the most advanced, but we honor our commitments. If we say we'll defend this galaxy, we will." The Supreme Arbiter raised one ancient appendage for silence. "The question before us is simple. Does humanity deserve membership in the Galactic Council? Let us examine their qualifications." What followed was an hour of systematic humiliation. The military assessment was brutal. The humans' weapons were deemed adequate for primitive conflicts. Their ship designs were called functional but unremarkable. Their defensive capabilities were rated as sufficient for patrol duties only. "In summary," announced Chief Military Assessor Kritan, A spider-like being with multiple eyes. The human fleet poses no threat to any major power and offers minimal defensive value. Their technology lags centuries behind current standards. However, the Supreme Arbiter continued, they have met the basic requirements for membership. The question is what level of membership to grant. The vote was swift and predictable. Humanity was granted probationary membership with severe limitations. They would have minimal voting rights, restricted access to advanced technology, and would be assigned to the least important duties. Congratulations, Vexani said with false sweetness. Welcome to the Galactic Council. You'll be assigned to Outer Rim Patrol. Think of it as training. The other delegates laughed openly now. Outer Rim Patrol was where the Council sent species they wanted to forget about. It was busy work, meaningless and far from anywhere important. Sarah accepted the assignment gracefully. We're honored to serve in whatever capacity you deem appropriate. As the ceremony ended and delegates began filing out, Admiral Rivera caught Sarah's arm gently. That went exactly as expected, he said quietly. Good, Sarah replied, her diplomatic smile never wavering. Let them think we're harmless. It makes the next phase easier. Around them, the great powers of the galaxy continued their conversations, already forgetting about the small human delegation. The Zephyrians discussed trade agreements. The Korthax planned military exercises. The Vardani debated philosophy. None of them noticed Admiral Rivera's satisfied expression as he watched their ships through the viewing ports. None of them wondered why he seemed so calm after such a public dismissal. None of them thought to ask why humanity had sent only 12 ships when most probationary species sent hundreds. They saw what they expected to see. A weak, primitive species that posed no threat to anyone. That was exactly what Admiral Rivera wanted them to see. Shall we return to our ships? Sarah asked. Yes, Rivera nodded. We have work to do. The Outer Rim won't patrol itself. As they walked toward their shuttle, Sarah couldn't help but smile. The galaxy had just made the biggest mistake in its history. They had looked at humanity and seen weakness. They had seen 12 ships and assumed that was all there was. They had no idea what was hidden in the dark spaces between the stars. They had no idea what humanity was really capable of when pushed. They had no idea that those 12 harmless ships were about to change everything. The joke was on them. They just didn't know it yet. 3 months had passed since humanity's embarrassing welcome to the Galactic Council. The 12 human ships now patrolled the Outer Rim systems, far from the important trade routes and political centers. Most council members had already forgotten they existed. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the stars through the main view screen. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. The ship hummed with the gentle vibration of its engines as it moved through the void between systems. Anything interesting on sensors, Lieutenant Park? She asked. Just the usual, Captain, came the reply. Empty space, a few asteroids, background radiation. Nothing worth reporting to command. Elena nodded. The Outer Rim was exactly what it sounded like, the edge of known space where nothing important ever happened. Perfect for keeping unwanted species busy and out of the way. But Elena had been a starship captain for 15 years. She knew how to read between the lines of their assignment. Humanity wasn't being punished. They were being positioned. Her communications officer looked up from his station. Captain, we're receiving a priority message from Admiral Rivera. Put it through to my ready room, Elena said. Commander Santos, you have the bridge. In the privacy of her small office, Elena activated the secure channel. Admiral Rivera's face appeared on the screen, his expression serious but satisfied. Status report, Captain, he said without preamble. All ships are in position, Admiral. The Zephyrians think we're running standard patrols. The Korthax haven't even bothered to monitor our movements. As far as the Council knows, we're exactly where we're supposed to be. Good. What about the deep space sensors? Elena's expression darkened. That's what I need to discuss with you, sir. We've been picking up some strange readings from the void between galaxies. Massive energy signatures moving in formation. Rivera leaned forward. How massive? Fleet-sized, Admiral. Maybe bigger. The computer estimates at least 3,000 ships, possibly more. They're still too far out for detailed scans, but they're definitely heading this way. Have you reported this to the Council? Elena snorted. I tried. Filed 3 separate reports through official channels. Each one was either ignored or dismissed as sensor errors. The Zephyrian military attaché actually laughed when I suggested they might want to investigate. Of course they did, Rivera said grimly. They think our technology is primitive. They can't imagine we might detect something their advanced sensors missed. Should I keep trying to warn them? No. Continue your patrols and keep monitoring those signatures. How long until they reach the outer systems? Elena checked her datapad. At current speed, maybe 6 weeks. But Admiral, if they're hostile? Let me worry about that, Captain. You just focus on your job. And Elena? Make sure your crew is ready. When this situation develops, we're going to need every ship at peak performance. The transmission ended, leaving Elena alone with her thoughts. She had served under Rivera long enough to recognize his tone. He wasn't surprised by her report. He had been expecting it. Across the outer rim, similar conversations were happening on 11 other ships. Each captain received the same message. Stay alert, stay ready, and trust the plan. The plan that none of the other galactic species knew about. Captain James Mitchell of the UES Perseverance was conducting what appeared to be a routine asteroid survey when he received his orders. To anyone watching, his ship was simply cataloging mineral resources in a dead system. They couldn't see the hidden supply depot his crew was actually building inside the largest asteroid. Captain Liu Wei of the UES Harmony was apparently investigating an old distress beacon in an abandoned sector. The Council's records showed the system as empty and worthless. They didn't know about the massive manufacturing facility that had been operating there for months, hidden inside an artificial nebula. Every human ship had a similar secondary mission. While they performed their assigned patrols, they were also preparing for something the galaxy couldn't imagine. Meanwhile, in the Council chambers on the Central Station, the great powers continued their political games. The Zephyrians were locked in trade disputes with the Vardani. The Korthax were demanding territory concessions from smaller species. The Nexari were threatening to withdraw from the defense pacts. The human vessels continue their assigned duties, reported Chief Military Assessor Cretan during the weekly briefing. They show no signs of deviation from established patrol routes. Their performance is adequate. Adequate, repeated High Counselor Vexani with amusement. Such high praise for our newest members. General Thakmore waved his arms dismissively. I told you they were no threat. 12 ships patrolling empty space. They might as well not exist. Speaking of threats, interrupted Supreme Military Commander Zorth, we should discuss the border skirmishes in the Andorian sector. The hegemony forces are becoming aggressive again. The discussion moved on to more important matters. None of the council members thought to ask why the humans never requested supplies or reinforcements. None of them wondered why 12 ships could patrol such a vast area so effectively. None of them questioned how humanity could maintain constant coverage. With such a small fleet, they were too busy with their own concerns to notice the signs. The first refugee ship arrived on a Tuesday. Captain Vasquez was the one who found it. A battered vessel from the Andromeda approach vector, barely holding together and broadcasting distress signals in 17 different languages. The ship was of unknown design, clearly not from any council species. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the UES Defiance. She broadcast on all frequencies. Unknown vessel, please identify yourself and state your emergency. The response came in broken galactic standard. Please, help us. They're coming. The Devourers. They consume everything. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. Repeat your last transmission. Who are the Devourers? Death, hunger. They take worlds. They take everything. Running for days, weeks. Can't escape. The refugee ship's engines finally gave out, leaving it drifting in space. Elena immediately ordered a rescue operation. Her crew brought aboard 17 survivors from a species no one had ever seen before. Tall, thin beings with silver skin and large, frightened eyes. Their leader, who called himself Architect Ventar, spoke through a universal translator. His words would haunt Elena for weeks to come. We are the Kethari, he said. We were builders, creators, artists. We had 12 worlds, beautiful worlds with crystal cities that touched the stars. The Devourers came from the dark between galaxies. We fought them. Everyone fought them. Nothing worked. They adapt to every weapon, overcome every defense. They don't just destroy, they consume. They turn everything into more of themselves. How many ships do they have? Elena asked. Ventar's eyes went wide with remembered terror. Ships? You think they travel in ships? Captain, they are the ships. Millions of them, each one the size of a city. They grow as they feed. They learn as they fight. We've seen them turn entire fleets into more devourers in a matter of hours. Elena immediately tried to contact Council Command. The response was predictably bureaucratic. Your report has been filed and will be reviewed by the appropriate committees, came the official reply. Please continue your assigned duties. She tried 3 more times, each message more urgent than the last. Each one was met with the same bureaucratic dismissal. Finally, she opened a secure channel to Admiral Rivera. Admiral, we need to talk. And sir, I think it's time the galaxy learned what humanity is really capable of. Rivera's expression was grim but unsurprised. How long until they arrive in Council space? Based on the Cathari's information, maybe 4 weeks, possibly less. Then it's time to activate Protocol 7, Rivera said quietly. Send the signal to all ships. The Council wanted us to patrol the Outer Rim. Let's show them how humans patrol. As Elena closed the channel, she felt a mixture of anticipation and dread. The galaxy was about to face its greatest threat. The great powers with their massive fleets and advanced technology were completely unprepared. But humanity? Humanity had been preparing for this moment since the day they arrived at the Council. The joke was about to become very serious indeed. They came from the darkness between galaxies like a nightmare made real. High Counselor Vexani stood in the Council's Emergency Command Center, her blue skin pale as she watched the incoming reports. The main display showed the Outer Rim systems, where red warning lights were appearing faster than anyone could count. Report, she commanded. Chief Military Assessor Cretan's multiple eyes darted across the incoming data. Contact lost with the Meridian Colony. No response from Outpost 7. The automated defense stations in the Helix sector have gone silent. Equipment failures? General Thakmore suggested, though his 6 arms were tense with worry. All of them at once? Supreme Military Commander Zorth's crystalline form rang with stress harmonics. Something is destroying our outer defenses systematically. The answer came when the first visual contact was established. A deep space monitoring station managed to transmit 15 seconds of footage before it went dark forever. The beings in the command center watched in horrified silence as creatures that defied description poured out of the void. They weren't ships in any traditional sense. They were living things the size of cities, with hull plating that pulsed like breathing and weapons that grew from their bodies like tumors. By the ancient stars, whispered Vexani. What are those things? The answer came from an unexpected source. The refugee ship that Captain Vasquez had rescued was brought to the central station under heavy escort. Architect Ventar stood before the council, his silver skin trembling as he recognized the images on the screens. Devourers, he said, his voice barely a whisper. They found you. The next 6 hours were chaos. Reports flooded in from across the Outer Rim as system after system fell to the invading force. The Devourers moved with terrifying efficiency, overwhelming defenses that had stood for centuries. The Zephyrian biofleets responded first. Admiral Kexara led 300 ships to intercept the invaders at the Theta Junction, a strategic choke point that every military academy studied. The battle lasted 18 minutes. The bioshields are useless, came Kexara's panicked transmission. Their weapons. They're eating our energy. The hulls are dissolving. They're turning our own ships against us. The Council watched in horror as the most advanced fleet in galactic history was systematically consumed. The Devourer creatures didn't just destroy the Zephyrian ships. They absorbed them, growing larger and more powerful with each victory. Send the Korthak heavy assault fleets, ordered General Thakmore. Our quantum hull plating will hold against their weapons. He was wrong. The Korthak dreadnoughts arrived in the Sigma sector with weapons charging and shields at maximum. Their dark pyramid ships had shattered planets and intimidated countless species. Against the Devourers, they lasted 23 minutes. The quantum fields are collapsing, screamed the Korthak fleet commander. They're using dimensional weapons. Our hulls are being torn apart on a molecular level. More red lights appeared on the tactical display. The Devourers weren't just winning, they were accelerating. Each victory made them stronger. Each consumed ship added to their numbers. Where are our defensive fleets? Demanded Vexani. Why aren't they responding? The truth was becoming clear. Centuries of peace and political maneuvering had left the galaxy's defenses in shambles. Ships were scattered across hundreds of systems, protecting trade routes and maintaining political boundaries. No one had prepared for a coordinated invasion of this scale. The Vardani crystal fleets are moving to intercept in the core junction, reported Cretan. Admiral Shalanti is confident their harmonic weapons will disrupt the enemy's biostructure. The confidence lasted exactly 31 minutes. They're adapting. Came the desperate transmission from the crystal ships. Every time we change frequency, they match it. Our weapons are becoming useless. The Supreme Arbiter, ancient beyond measure, finally spoke. Signal all available fleets. Full retreat to the core worlds. We must buy time to evacuate the civilian populations. What about the Outer Rim colonies? Asked someone. The silence that followed was answer enough. In that moment of despair, someone remembered the humans. The Earth ships, said Cretan suddenly. They're still on patrol in the Outer Rim. Should we recall them? General Thakmore laughed bitterly. 12 ships. Against that? We might as well send them a surrender message now. But Vexani was reading something on her personal display. Wait. I'm showing human transponder signals throughout the invasion zone. How are they still active? The tactical display zoomed in on the Outer Rim. To everyone's amazement, 12 green dots still move through the chaos, apparently unharmed by the devastating invasion force. They must be running, concluded Thakmore, probably trying to reach the inner systems. Actually, said a new voice, we're right where we need to be. The council turned to see Admiral Rivera entering the command center. The human admiral walked with calm confidence, seemingly unaffected by the panic around him. Admiral, Vexani said urgently, you need to evacuate your ships immediately. The Outer Rim is lost. Rivera studied the tactical display for a moment. No, I don't think so. Don't be a fool, snapped Thakmore. Your 12 ships can't possibly fight that Armada. Rivera smiled, a cold, predatory expression that made several council members step back. You're right, General. 12 ships couldn't fight that Armada. He walked to the main communications console and entered a series of commands. This is Admiral Rivera. Authorization Omega 77. All units, this is protocol activation. Repeat, protocol activation. What are you doing? Demanded Vexani. Something we should have done 3 months ago, Rivera replied. Captain Vasquez, report. Elena Vasquez's voice came through the speakers, calm and professional despite the chaos around her. Admiral, we have visual contact with the lead Devourer formation. Estimate 3,000 hostile units approaching the Helix sector. Understood, Captain. Execute Shadow Protocol. Show them what humans really look like when we stop playing games. What happened next would be talked about in military academies for centuries. The UES Defiance, which had appeared to be a simple patrol ship, suddenly began to change. Its hull plating shifted and expanded, revealing hidden weapon systems and additional drive units. Within minutes, the escort vessel had tripled in size. Impossible, breathed Cretan. Our sensors would have detected. Your sensors detected exactly what we wanted them to detect, Rivera interrupted. Captain Mitchell, status report. Manufacturing complex online, Admiral. We have 400 fresh ships ready for deployment. Captain Liu, supply depot fully operational, sir. Ammunition and fuel reserves at 100%. Captain Torres, stealth field generators active across all sectors, Admiral. The enemy can't see what's coming. The tactical display began showing new contacts. Green dots appeared throughout the Outer Rim, dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. What the galaxy had thought were asteroids, debris fields, and empty space began revealing their true nature. How many ships do you actually have? Whispered Vexani. Rivera's smile widened. General Thakmore was right about one thing. 12 ships couldn't fight that Armada. He turned to face the stunned council members. Good thing we brought 12,000. The display showed the truth that had been hidden for months. Humanity hadn't sent a token force to patrol the Outer Rim. They had built the largest fleet in galactic history and positioned it exactly where it would be needed most. You want to see what humans do when our allies are threatened? Rivera asked. Captain Vasquez, you are weapons free. Show the Devourers why Earth became the apex predator of its homeworld. With pleasure, Admiral. All ships, this is Defiance Actual. Time to remind the galaxy what real warfare looks like. The joke was over. Now came the punchline. The first human ship to engage the Devourers was the UES Retribution, a vessel that had been disguised as a mining platform for 3 months. Captain Sarah Kim watched the approaching enemy formation with cold calculation. Target the lead bioship, she ordered. Firing solution locked. All batteries commence firing. What emerged from the Retribution's weapons arrays was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of energy beams or projectile weapons, streams of microscopic machines poured from the ship's cannons. The nanite swarm struck the Devourer's hull and immediately began their work. The bioship tried to adapt, its living metal surface shifting and changing to counter the attack. But these weren't ordinary weapons. The nanites had been programmed with one simple directive: prevent regeneration. On the council station, the assembled leaders watched in amazement as the massive Devourer began to dissolve from the inside out. Its ability to heal and adapt, the very thing that made it unstoppable, was being systematically shut down. Impossible, breathed General Thakmore. How are they destroying something that can adapt to any weapon? Admiral Rivera's expression was grim. You don't fight adaptation with bigger guns, General. You fight it by taking away the ability to adapt in the first place. The Devourers responded as they always did. They learned. The bioships began creating countermeasures, developing defenses against the nanite weapons, but humanity had expected this. Captain Chen, you're up, Rivera said into his communicator. The UES Vigilance uncloaked directly behind the Devourer formation. Its weapons were completely different. Electromagnetic pulse cannons that scrambled the enemy's neural networks. Before the bioships could adapt to the nanites, they were hit with something else entirely. Pattern Delta 7, Captain Chen reported. Enemy coordination disrupted. They're flying blind. The Devourers tried to fall back and regroup, but that was when the third wave hit. Ships that had been hidden in asteroid fields and nebulae emerged from every direction. Each one carried different weapons, different tactics, different ways of killing. The humans are using unpredictable warfare, observed Chief Military Assessor Cretan, his multiple eyes tracking the battle. Every ship has different capabilities. The enemy cannot adapt to them all simultaneously. What the galaxy was witnessing was humanity's true nature. On Earth, they had evolved as persistence hunters, creatures that never gave up and always found a way to win. In space, they had become something even more dangerous. Tactical shapeshifters who never fought the same way twice. The Devourer fleet, which had consumed 3 major galactic armadas, found itself fighting an enemy that refused to behave predictably. Every time they adapted to one type of attack, 3 more different attacks hit them from unexpected angles. This is Captain Vasquez. Elena's voice came through the communications. Enemy formation is breaking apart. They're trying to scatter and regroup. Don't let them, Rivera ordered. Once a Devourer ship escapes, it carries everything it learned back to the hive. We end this here. The human fleet moved with perfect coordination. Unlike the other galactic powers who had fought the Devourers head-on, humanity used the tactics that had made them successful on Earth. They hunted in packs, set traps, and struck from ambush. The UES Defiance, now revealed in its true form as a mobile battle station, anchored the center of the formation. Its weapon systems could have outgunned most planetary defense networks. But it wasn't fighting alone. Captain Torres of the UES Shadowhawk led a squadron of stealth ships in hit-and-run attacks. They appeared from nowhere, struck with devastating precision, and vanished before the enemy could respond. Captain Rodriguez of the UES Hammer commanded the heavy assault units that had been disguised as cargo haulers. His ships carried weapons that could crack planets, but they used them with surgical precision. Enemy bioship attempting to flee to dark space, reported Lieutenant Park from the Defiance's sensor station. Captain Liu, intercept, Rivera ordered. The UES Harmony, which had spent months pretending to investigate old distress beacons, was perfectly positioned. The fleeing Devourer ran straight into a gravity trap that Captain Liu had spent weeks preparing. Target trapped and neutralized, Liu reported. Beginning final assault sequence. What followed was methodical destruction. The trapped bioship tried everything: adaptive armor, energy absorption, even attempting to turn its own mass into weapons. Nothing worked. The humans had planned for every possibility. On the council station, the assembled leaders watched in stunned silence as their greatest nightmare was systematically destroyed by the species they had dismissed as harmless. How long have they been planning this? Whispered High Counselor Vexani. Since the day we arrived, Rivera answered. We knew something like this would happen eventually. The galaxy is too peaceful, too complacent. When real predators showed up, you weren't ready. But you were, said Supreme Military Commander Zorth, his crystalline form ringing with what might have been respect. We had to be. On Earth, the species that survive are the ones that can adapt fastest and hit hardest. We didn't become the dominant species by being the strongest or the smartest. We became dominant because we never stopped fighting and we never fight fair. The battle was turning into a rout. Devourer bioships that had seemed unstoppable were being hunted down one by one. Each time they tried a new tactic, the humans had a counter ready. Each time they adapted to human weapons, humanity revealed new weapons they hadn't seen before. Final enemy formation detected, Captain Kim reported. 50 bioships attempting to form a defensive cluster in the Sigma sector. All ships converge on Sigma, Rivera ordered. Time to finish this. The last stand of the Devourer invasion force lasted exactly 7 minutes. The human fleet surrounded the enemy formation and unleashed everything at once. Nanite swarms, electromagnetic pulses, gravity weapons, antimatter torpedoes, and dozens of other weapon types that the galaxy had never seen before. The bioships tried desperately to adapt, but there were simply too many different threats, one by one. The massive creatures that had terrorized the galaxy fell silent. All enemy contacts eliminated, Captain Vasquez reported. Sector clear. The silence in the Council Command Center was deafening. The greatest threat the galaxy had ever faced had been destroyed in less than 12 hours by the species everyone had written off as harmless. Admiral, Vexani said quietly, we owe you an apology. Rivera shook his head. No, you don't. You did exactly what we needed you to do. You underestimated us, ignored us, and left us alone to prepare. If you had taken us seriously, we never could have positioned our forces properly. General Thakmore's mandibles clicked nervously. Your fleet? How large is it really? Large enough, Rivera replied. But more importantly, it's ready. The Devourers weren't just raiders, counselors. They were scouts. The real invasion force is still out there in dark space. The color drained from every alien face in the room. You mean there are more of them? Cretan asked. Oh yes, much more. But don't worry. Rivera's smile was cold and predatory. We'll be ready for them too. After all, we've had 3 months to prepare. Imagine what we can do with 3 years. He turned to leave, then paused at the door. By the way, counselors, I believe there was some discussion about humanity's membership status. I think it's time we renegotiated those terms. As the Admiral walked out, the greatest powers in the galaxy were left to contemplate a new reality. The joke was over. The species they had mocked and dismissed had just saved them all, and now they had to figure out how to live in a galaxy where humanity was no longer the weakest member of the Council. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened 3 days after the Devourer fleet's destruction. The Great Assembly Hall, once filled with proud delegates showing off their power, now felt different. The representatives sat quietly, many still processing what they had witnessed. Ambassador Sarah Chen walked to the center platform with the same calm confidence she had shown months earlier. But this time, no one was laughing. The viewing screens showed footage from the battle, human ships emerging from hiding spots throughout the galaxy, weapons unlike anything the Council had ever seen, and the systematic destruction of an enemy that had seemed unstoppable. Honored counselors, Sarah began, humanity thanks you for this opportunity to address the Council once again. The Supreme Arbiter, ancient and wise, spoke first. Ambassador Chen, on behalf of the Galactic Council, we must express our gratitude. Your species has saved countless lives across the galaxy. We did what we promised, Sarah replied simply. We defended the peace you have built. High Counselor Vexani leaned forward. But you deceived us. You made us believe you were weak, unprepared. Admiral Rivera, standing beside Sarah, answered that one. With respect, Counselor, we never lied about anything. We brought 12 ships to your doorstep exactly as we said. You assumed that was our entire fleet. We never confirmed or denied that assumption. The Outer Rim assignments, said General Thakmore, his 6 arms gesturing nervously. You knew what was coming. We suspected, Rivera admitted. The galaxy has been peaceful for too long. Peace is wonderful, but it makes you soft. When real predators show up, peaceful civilizations aren't ready. We made sure someone was ready. Chief Military Assessor Creton's multiple eyes focused on the human delegation. Your weapons, your tactics, they're unlike anything in our databases. How long have you been developing this technology? Sarah smiled. Since we first learned we weren't alone in the universe. Humans have a saying, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. We hoped the galaxy would be peaceful. We prepared for war. But the scale of it, breathed Supreme Military Commander Zorth. 12,000 ships, hidden manufacturing facilities, weapons we've never seen before. This represents centuries of preparation. Actually, about 50 years, Rivera corrected. Humans work fast when we're motivated. And nothing motivates us quite like protecting our friends. The word friends hung in the air. It was a simple concept, but one that carried weight coming from the species that had just proven their loyalty in the most dramatic way possible. Admiral, the Supreme Arbiter said carefully, our intelligence estimates suggest the force you deployed could have conquered the galaxy, if you had chosen to. Why didn't you? Rivera's expression was genuinely puzzled. Why would we want to conquer you? We like you. You've built something beautiful here. Centuries of peace, trade, cooperation. We want to be part of that, not destroy it. But you could have simply revealed your true strength from the beginning, Vexani pointed out. Why the deception?
Because you needed to learn something, Sarah said.
All of you have become so focused on the size of your fleets and the power of your weapons that you forgot the most important lesson in survival. Which is? Asked Thuckmore. It's not about how big you are, Rivera said. It's about how smart you are, how adaptable you are, and how committed you are to protecting what matters. The Devourers were bigger than all of us combined. They had adaptive technology beyond anything we possessed, but they had one fatal weakness. What weakness? Cretan asked. They fought like conquerors, Sarah explained. They assumed their superiority would carry them to victory. They never considered that the prey might be setting a trap. The implications sank in slowly. The galaxy's greatest powers had made the same mistake as the Devourers. They had assumed their size and technology made them unbeatable. There's something else you need to know, Rivera said, his tone becoming serious. The Devourers we fought were just the advanced scouts. Our deep space sensors are detecting a much larger force heading toward the galaxy. The main invasion fleet. The assembly erupted in frightened murmurs. How much larger? Demanded Vexani. Conservative estimate, 10 times the size of what we just fought. The silence that followed was heavy with fear. However, Rivera continued, we have 3 years before they arrive. 3 years to prepare proper defenses. 3 years to teach the galaxy how to fight a real war. You would help us? Zorth asked. After how we treated you? Sarah's diplomatic smile was warm and genuine. Of course we'll help you. You're our friends. That's what friends do. But, Rivera added, the help comes with conditions. Name them, the Supreme Arbiter said immediately. First, humanity gets full council membership with appropriate voting rights. Second, we take over galactic defense coordination. Your fleets are impressive, but they're not designed for warfare against an adaptive enemy. We'll teach you how to fight like humans. Agreed, Vexani said without hesitation. Third, we need access to your manufacturing capabilities. The human fleet is effective, but we need more ships. A lot more ships. Whatever you need, Thackmore assured him. And fourth, Sarah said, we're going to need volunteers from every species. Humans fight best when we're working together with others. We want mixed crews, shared technology, combined tactics. This galaxy is going to learn how to fight as one unified force. The voting was unanimous. Over the following months, the transformation was remarkable. Human military advisors spread throughout the galaxy, teaching the great powers how to fight like persistence hunters instead of territorial predators. Zephyrian bioships learned stealth tactics. Korthak heavy cruisers practiced hit-and-run attacks. Vardani crystal ships developed unpredictable attack patterns. The real surprise came when the other species began improving on human designs. The Zephyrians created bio-nanites that were more effective than anything humanity had developed. The Korthaks designed quantum disruptor weapons that could shut down Devourer adaptation permanently. The Vardani developed communication systems that made human quantum entanglement networks look primitive. It turns out, Captain Vasquez told Admiral Rivera during one of their weekly briefings, we're not the only species that fights better when we're cooperating instead of competing. Rivera nodded, watching the tactical displays that showed joint human-alien fleets conducting training exercises throughout the galaxy. That was always the point, Elena. Humans aren't special because we're stronger or smarter than everyone else. We're special because we know how to turn enemies into allies and allies into family. The day the main Devourer fleet arrived, they found a galaxy that was ready for them. The massive bioships emerged from dark space expecting to find scattered, feuding civilizations ripe for consumption, Instead, they found 12,000 star systems united under a single command structure, defended by fleets that had learned to fight like humans, unpredictably, cooperatively, and with absolute determination. The battle lasted 6 months and ranged across 3 spiral arms. When it was over, the Devourer threat was ended forever. Not destroyed, humanity had learned that destruction only created martyrs. Instead, the bioships were reprogrammed, their hive-mind consciousness replaced with individual free will. The former Devourers became the galaxy's newest species, welcomed into the Council as equals. The ceremony was held on the same station where humanity had first been dismissed as harmless. Ambassador Chen, the Supreme Arbiter, announced, "The Galactic Council unanimously votes to appoint humanity as the permanent galactic defense coordinators. You have proven that strength comes not from the size of your fleet, but from the bonds of friendship and the willingness to protect those who cannot protect themselves." Sarah accepted the appointment gracefully. "We're honored to serve. But remember, we're not your rulers. We're your partners. The galaxy belongs to all of us." Admiral Rivera's final report to Earth Command was simple. Mission accomplished. The galaxy is safe, unified, and ready for whatever comes next. And more importantly, they understand now that humans don't conquer. We protect. The joke had become something greater than anyone had imagined. The species everyone had underestimated had not only saved the galaxy, they had taught it how to save itself. In the end, the galaxy hadn't miscalculated humanity's strength. They had miscalculated humanity's heart, and that had made all the difference.